Welcome to Live Spirit, a channel where we discuss on how to live our spirit. And today I'm here with Shay Sisler, and she is a soul regression specialist. And let's begin by asking, what is a soul regression specialist?
Right. So thank you for inviting me to your channel today. So this is amazing. So soul regression specialist is just helping people regress to memories, soul memories. And soul memories is could be like current life events, could be past life events, could be ancestral events that have happened where we carry the memory in our soul. And so we regress back to those memories because my journey here is to help heal the wounds of the soul. And so wherever those wounds are, when I connect to the higher self of my clients or the spirit guides of my clients, then we're able to go back to those wounds because I let them guide us to the wound that needs to be healed today. Because we carry so many wounds from so many different places, and it could be something as simple as, when you were a little kid, I remember, I wanted some chocolate milk at the grocery store and my mom wouldn't buy it for me. And I was so mad and so angry and so upset. And, my mom told me no. And then you feel the rejection. It's something as simple as that. We carry wounds from just simple things, but we also carry it from, past life events. If you, come into this life and you haven't resolved, like if you died in a drowning in a previous life, you probably carry a lot of that trauma still with you. So we regress back to that memory and help heal that memory. And just being born in this lifetime is traumatic. Coming through the womb, coming through the canal is traumatic. And you go from this beautiful, warm space for 9 months that you've been, harvesting and just living in this beautiful place connected solely to your, mother. And then all of a sudden you sever that connection and you're forced into this cold, hard world. And the lights are usually, in the hospitals are just so bright. And, I remember I had my niece one time with me and she says, I got so mad at my mommy. And she's like 4. And I go, why? And she goes, because the sun was so bright when I came into the world and I was so mad. So
Wow.
she remembers being born and remembers the lights being so bright in there. But in her mind as a 4-year-old, it was the brightness from the sun, not from the operating room. But she was mad at her mom for bringing her into that bright sunlight. So
Wow.
probably sometime in her life in the future, we're going to have to go back and heal that memory.
Wow.
So soul regression specialist. And, I've been doing this for 7 years now. And so, I feel like I've pretty much, really honed my skill really well. So I know what I'm doing. I'm very good at asking questions. I feel very guided, and like my guides told me once, if you think Shay is the one conducting these sessions, you have another thing coming because we are guiding you. So they give me thoughts and ideas about where to steer the session when I'm in session. So
Wow, that's a lot. Like I have a lot of questions just on that alone. Um, so let's go with like the living your spirit. I mean, you've done this for 7 years. That's a while now. So what made you start doing the soul regressions? Is this something that you have kind of been on the spiritual path your whole life? Was this something that kind of came up unexpectedly? How did you go on that journey?
Yeah, it's kind of a combination of both. Honestly, my grandfather died on my 16th birthday. My grandmother gave me a book about near-death experiences. And so from that time on, from 16 on, I kept reading those kind of books because I was so fascinated with the afterlife. But I never imagined myself being on this journey and doing what I'm doing now because I didn't even know that this was a job, or something that you could actually do. And when my husband got sick, when he had a stroke in 2010, and then he got cancer, and we went the traditional, chemotherapy for the first year. And then after that first year, he just said, Shay, whatever time I have left, I can't do this chemo anymore. And I thought, you know what, I'm not going to sit here and watch him die. So I went looking for cures or ways to heal, even though I kind of knew we all could heal our own bodies. I never really looked into how to do that other than Reiki, you know, but I went looking, and then I came across Dolores Cannon and her work. And then I realized that she trains practitioners to do this healing work. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my job. This is the job I've been waiting for my whole life. And mind you, I was in my 50s and I was in the corporate world and I loved my job and I had a great job. But I remember telling my sister one day, as much as I love my job, because I traveled a lot, as much as I love my job, I still feel something missing. And so at 50 years old, I'm still like, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Right. Then when I found this, it's like, oh my gosh, this is my job. And I had told my sister like 3 years earlier, I said, if I had the perfect job, I would be able to sit with people, connect with people soul to soul, and then help them. And then here this job just manifested, you know, I manifested it right into my own reality. So
that is such a true manifestation story. Law of attraction.
And I love how spirit works. You know, I live spirit. And when you follow your guides and you live spirit every day, we're guided by spirit constantly. But we have choice, right? We have free will. We can choose to follow that or not, because I'm going to tell you what happened too. When I first started to go into this work, I went and looked at Dolores Cannon's work to see how much it was going to cost. And it was a little pricey for me at the time because, you know, we had chemotherapy bills and, you know, it was outrageous. And I looked at it and I thought, you know, I can't afford that right now. And then I remembered that my cousin had given me some money about 6 months earlier, and it was in an envelope. And I told her I didn't want the money, but I ended up throwing it in a drawer. And I went and opened up the drawer, and I opened it up as the exact amount of money that I needed to take that course. So everything was lining up for it, right? But then here I am. I'm sitting at this choice point though, you know, because I have this money, but I've got all these medical bills, right? And I'm thinking I should take this money and go pay those bills. And then I'm like, no, spirit is lining this up for me. Spirit gave me this money for this course. So I was at a choice point. Do I want to follow spirit? Do I want to live spirit and follow spirit? And it was a point where I was like really debating. And then I thought, no, I'm going to choose spirit and I'm going to live spirit.
Wow.
And so I made that choice. And I'll tell you what, I do not regret for a moment that I made that choice, because I've made up so much more money that, you know what I mean? And not that it's all about the money, because it's certainly not. And I'm not making near what I was making in the corporate world, but I'm so happy, you know.
Wow,
I found what I came here to do finally.
Yes, that's so beautiful. And so now you're saying you're making less money, but yet you choose, you know, you do it all again, like you choose it again, and you definitely feel a lot more happy. What marks the difference? What makes that difference between where you were, and even though you made a lot of good money, you know, there was something missing, and here where you feel like whatever you're gaining is obviously worth, right?
Right. Well, I think what the difference for me was like the money. When you have money, you can go buy the nicest house. We had our dream home. You can go buy the nicest cars. You can buy the nicest clothes. You can get your hair colored every week and your nails done every week. And so you have all this money and you're very successful in what you're doing. But then when you live spirit and you follow what you're doing, your soul gets fulfilled. So you're investing your money into your soul and not into materialistic things. So my soul now is being fed because I'm in service to others and I'm helping so many. And I remember right after my husband passed away, I was thinking I need to go back and get a job in the corporate world. And it was our session when I was giving you a soul regression session, at the very end, I'd asked, do you have a message for my client before we end the session? And you didn't know me at all before this session, so you'd never met me. And then you said, no, but we have a message for you. And I go, okay, well, what is that? And they're like, do not stop doing what you're doing. You're helping so many. So my soul was getting fed for the first time. And then I realized how my journey of my soul is needed in the world. Yeah. Because with money, you can't get to the soul. I mean, I shouldn't say you can get to the soul, but we need to connect with the soul, not the material reality that we live in.
Right. So. Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think it speaks very much to that, right? That we do sometimes have this duality of where do I focus on and put my attention on, right? Because the physical is so in our face, so tangible, so and the spirit realm isn't. And so we tend to kind of give precedence, right, to that which is right in front of us, which is physical and tangible, and kind of to the logic of the world, right? But yes, that was a wonderful experience for me as well, because I remember this was my first session ever. Right. So that it was a whole new experience for me in the process of, am I doing this right? Right. Is this the way it's supposed to feel? And I remember saying that, like hearing the words come out of my mouth as in, we have a message for you. And all along thinking, no, I don't. No, I don't. Like, I had no idea what was going to come out of that sentence. Right. I had no idea. I was like, and I was thinking, like,
you were allowing spirit to come through. So you were living spirit.
And but I was thinking, who am I? Right. This is a professional woman that doesn't need any advice from, me, who is just beginning and knows nothing about this. I was so out of my own comfort zone there.
But it was so amazing because just the day before, I had asked at Ashley Furniture if they were hiring, and I was going to go back on Monday to apply. And so it was like spirit knew that that's what I was doing. And so you just happened to be the client that came in that message needed to come through to me for. So, I mean, if it would have been anybody that day, it probably would have come through, but it happened to be you. And I think that's kind of what's helped our bond and our friendship grow too, because we are so connected in that way, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that. So your role, kind of like as not only now as a practitioner, but now you're the puzzle piece bringer too. Like, you're collecting the puzzle pieces and bringing a community together, and now starting this community project that has been developing and growing and helping so many people find their voice. And find their spirit and be able to live, right? Like live in a very like an integration kind of way, kind of helping us find our way of making that part of our daily lives, rather than just something on the side over there, right? So tell me about that. How has like your process and your journey with that?
Well, and that's been another choice point, and living spirit, because I had a dream in 2009 where I saw myself walking through this crowd of people and touching them, and their lights just shining. And then it was so powerful, I didn't want to wake up from the dream, but I just felt so much love for all these people. And then when I started this work, I was told that I was shown this because these are all the puzzle pieces that I am here to gather, and that I am to create this community to bring people together the tribe is coming back together. And so the people that my guides are guiding to me are a piece of the puzzle. So, you know, I started the community because I decided to live spirit, right? Make that choice to bring the community together. And, you know, and it's not been easy. You know, I've started it a couple times and then I quit, you know, because it just becomes so much work. And, you know, and then, you know, people were fighting in the community amongst each other. And I'm like, I don't want this, you know. So it's like almost like you had to wait for the energy to be right, but at least I started it. And then now it's such an amazing community, and we have such an abundance of different tribe members, right? And we all have something different to offer, and we all come together and we share, and it's just beautiful, and it's so fulfilling and rewarding to me, because these are my people, these are my tribe, these are my family. And I love it. I love when we get together, and we have things going on every week. If you want to, you know, join into something, you know, and sometimes it gets to be a little too much, but I love it because it's something for everyone. So.
Wow. So what kind of activities do you have going on over there?
Well, and first of all, you know, you yourself, or you have a book club. So anyone who wants to join in on the book club, it's an online book club. So we have that going on. We also have, you know, full moon and new moon hikes, and we get together and we work with that, and we create and manifest through that. We also have retreats that we've just started doing, different people in the community, where every 6 weeks or so, we're going to put together a retreat. It's a full day event where people can come together and just share their knowledge and share their wisdom, and, you know, whatever that looks like. We have, you know, potlucks and pool parties and, you know, discussion groups. And I mean, it's just incredible. We have a psychic workshop once a month. We have dream interpretation, you know, discussion groups. Last year we had a writing to heal class. You know, and what's really huge right now is a lot of shadow work. People are really working on their shadow. And so we've got a couple of those classes every month. So there's a lot for people to choose from and get involved with. And also, it's not always about me and putting together these classes and workshops. It's about everybody contributing what they can do. Like a member in our group, Tara, she just put together a discussion group every Tuesday night, right? So she's stepping into her live spirit as well and following her guidance to be who she's meant to be in the group. And we all have a different piece of that puzzle. And when you make the choice to start living from spirit, then you know what your piece is. And then that is another class we can add to the community. So, and our group is called One Community Rising. And honestly, in the very beginning, I brought a group of people together and we came up with the name. So it was kind of a you know, put a few names in the hat, and then we decided which one sounded the best. And honestly, One Community Rising sounded perfect for me because we are rising one community at a time. And they've told me that One Community Rising will be everywhere because communities are rising everywhere. And right now we have, you know, classes from One Community Rising in Utah, and we have classes from One Community Rising in Idaho. So
that is beautiful. You know, I could think back when I first started a lot of this metaphysical and you know, like expanding, right? This knowledge of different possibilities, different realms, different ways of looking at the world and reality. And I wished, like I was, you know, and I would go into these different concepts and practice them alone and practice them by myself at home, but just wishing, you know, there's somebody I could talk to about this. There's somebody that I could practice with. Like if I just had, you know, kind of when you say, if I just had a gym buddy to go to the gym, everything else. And that's kind of how I looked at it. Like if I just had some friends that, you know, spoke the same language, that, you know, like the same things, that were into, that we could practice, put these ideas to the test and truly, right, truly see Then when I started kind of confirming some of these things and having these experiences, and it was even more like I just wanted to share and have people that are also having the experiences so we can bounce off each other and compare stories. And it seemed like so far from my reality at the moment, it almost that close to impossible.
Right.
And yeah, to just hear you and hear like all these activities, and obviously experience them myself as well, being part of the activities and being part of those events when I have the chance to, and seeing how fulfilling, right, it is to come together as one people, as
Yeah.
yes.
And that's
So
probably the thing I hear most out of all of my clients when they come to see me. They're like, oh my gosh, it feels so great to be able to talk to somebody about this. They said, because I can't just talk to anybody about spirit and about ghosts and about, the things that they're into, because not everybody understands that. So I have the perfect opportunity when I have a client in front of me and they're telling me that they can't talk to just anybody about it. And I said, well, guess what? We have a place where you can come now and you can talk about all of this stuff, because everybody's on the same journey and everybody understands. And it's so empowering for people to know that there is a place that they can go to and talk about this kind of stuff and not be weird,
yeah.
the odd one out,
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I love it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for what you're doing.
Thank you.
So I need to ask, very curious, what is one of the kind of I want to say craziest or most, that the experience that you had as a soul regression specialist? I mean, you must 7 years. That's a very long time. I'm sure that you have so many stories, so many things that have surprised
yeah.
you. But what do you have that kind of calls out to you as either something really surprising or, one of those experiences that really stayed with you?
This is probably, I mean, there's so many, because you hear my stories all the time. I'm always talking about stories, but because that's what I love. I love sharing the stories of the sessions that I have. But probably the biggest one that I really, really love is when people are able to go home. And where is home and what is home? Because a lot of people come to me and they say, I don't feel like I'm home. I feel like I'm in a foreign country. I don't belong here. And I just want to get out of here. I want to leave. I don't want to be here. And so when I'm in session and they're able to go to their home planet or their origin or the planet they incarnate into most, or the place where they are that have been the happiest in other lifetimes, they're able to go there and visit loved ones. They can visit their home. A lot of people like live in crystal palaces. People just live on the land. People are have these etheric bodies that they're like see-through. They're iridescent in color. They're kind of human form, but then I'll have other people that are like dolphin forms, what they call those mermaid forms. I had someone that was a beetle, like a beetle, but not no, they said
Really?
a ladybug. It was a ladybug, but they were black. But they had a ladybug and they had a pointy nose. And I mean, just going to all these different worlds and these different realities, these different dimensions that people come from, because we're all here as starseeds, right? Because we came from somewhere else. We got the call that said, hey, Earth is in trouble. And we need the strongest of souls to come and help raise the vibration of the planet. And we all answered the call. That's why
I'm
we're
getting
here.
chills. I'm getting chills.
I know, I love it. And that's why we're here. And I call us kind of like the Trojan horses of raising the vibration of Earth, because we all came in as these light beings, but our light couldn't shine in the very beginning when we came in, because if our light would have shined so bright, they would have taken us out right away. So we had to be inundated with this trauma to keep our light down until now. And so a lot of us came in abusive situations. A lot of us came in that had a lot of trauma in childhood, traumatic births, ancestral trauma. But we had to do that from what I've learned through my sessions in order to keep our light from shining too bright. I've had people in session who their light has been covered in like a gray mist, or they've been covered in moths, just covered in moths, because their light wasn't ready to be shown yet. And so now when they're coming to heal the wounds of the soul, that's what we're doing. We're shedding away all of that darkness that's been hiding our light. So it's like time for the Trojan horse to come out. You know what I mean?
Beautiful.
Out of the Trojan horse. So we're all like now able to shed away the darkness that's been holding our light back for so long. And now we're able to shine. And as each of us come out and we begin to shine our light so much, there's so much light coming into this planet right now, too, from the sun. And then we are all shedding our shadow and creating that light. So it's
beautiful. Yes. Celebrate good times. Come on.
Yeah, I love clearing the shadow. So
yes. Oh, I support. Yes, that is such good news.
Yeah, I want to share really quick. Last 2 weeks ago, we had a shadow workshop, and there was a lady in there that we're working on shadow work. Well, Norma, the facilitator, kept trying to engage this particular client in to help her work on her shadow, and she kept putting up blocks and defenses, right? And then at one point she says, I've been going in trying to look at my shadow. She says, but we're going back on memories and trying to find the memories. She says, and I'm trying to think of my memories. And she said, the memories that are coming up for me, she said, they're not my memories. Right? So what does that tell me? Because I know that one of the things I'm here to work with is work with attachments. So right then I knew this woman has attachments because these memories are coming up that they're not her memories. So I, told her what I do, because I was in a shadow workshop for Norma, which she works on a lot of current life trauma. And I told her I work with ancestral and, shadow work. Anyway, she came in and did a session with me last week, and we removed like 6 or 8 attachments that were attached to her, that were causing her to have all these memories that weren't even hers. And there's still more there. So she's coming back. So, but that's what I love, because that's how our light is going to shine. And those attachments are real. And people don't understand that. They think that people are going crazy. I just did a guy yesterday who was labeled schizophrenic, and he's on schizophrenic drugs. And when we went in, he had 2 attachments. So, we'll see where that goes. I wouldn't work on him at first because he's already been labeled, and I didn't want to mess up anything that doctor's done. So I told him, if you get approval from your doctor to come and do a hypnotherapy session, then I will, but I won't just take him randomly. So, because I've never worked with one that has actually been labeled schizophrenic and on schizophrenic drugs. But I think that we're mislabeling a lot of that in our society.
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up. That's something that I actually heard from the world. What is it? The World Science Conference, I believe it's called. You can find videos online of they held one yearly, and there were some panelists that were talking about that, and they're supposed to be like the latest, the people that are working on the latest theories in the fields, right? In regards to schizophrenia. And they were saying how one of them out of, there was about 5 of them on stage, and one of them was actually talking about how they're doing these studies with the brain, right? And measuring like the magnetic fields and what part of the brain lights up and things like that. And he was saying because of their kind of acknowledgement that our thoughts are not really in our brain, right?
Right.
They don't originate in our brain. It's kind of like the opposite. They're first felt on the field, and then the brain lights up, like as if it's catching
Yes.
it, right? Like it's acting as a receiver instead of a transmitter.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're actually looking into that and seeing if maybe, just maybe, right, a lot these people that hear voices, it really, like, they really are tapping into something the rest of us just can't hear.
Yeah, and we're not taught how to work with that. And
Or that
there
it even
are powers.
exists.
What's that?
That it even exists, that it's even possible.
Yeah,
We're not taught.
exactly. We're not taught that. And the powers that be do know that that's a part of our reality, but they're not teaching us about that. So these are gifts that are being sent down through spirit, right? To give us the understanding and know how to work with this energy. So a lot of these doctors now are starting to do the studies that really can tap into the energy fields that is around us and see what's really going on. So as the science begins to change, we'll be able to get into that. But I know people like myself, and there's other people doing the same thing. We don't need the science to understand it, because we've listened to spirit too, and they've given us the tools to go in and help without the science. But pretty soon the science will catch up with the knowledge and the spirit of what we're doing too.
Yes, I can just imagine. Like, I put myself in their shoes of, people who have been labeled as schizophrenic, or people who have been given these labels, and to finally get validated, right? To finally understand that you're not crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you for that.
And that was another thing that I told, that my journey is here not only to create the community, but to work with the attachments, and then to teach people how to do that as well. So that is a huge part of my journey too, is having soul regression workshops and teaching other practitioners how to do and work with this without fear, because a lot of people think that these dark energy attachments are devils or evil, or, and so the journey is to teach people not to be fearful of it either. So
Yes, yes. No, and I have definitely received a few lessons of that from you. And even in the sense of the love, looking at it from a space of love, and seeing those entities with compassion.
Yeah.
Right. Rather than seeing it with disdain.
Mm-hmm.
And that has definitely, I'm working with that.
Right.
I'm working with
And
that.
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the way that we perceive that energy changes the way that we work with it.
Yes.
Because if you think it's evil and ugly, then you're going to treat it as if it's evil and ugly. But if you look at it as something from God, you know what I mean, or source, or whatever term you want to use, then it's a creation. And to me, it's just an elemental that has not, been given the right information, or all they know is the darkness. That's what they came here to do. They didn't come here to play that other role, so they don't know about it. So I always look at them as a child, and so how would I treat a child? With love and compassion, and patience and tenderness. Sometimes patience are really hard. There's been a couple of sessions in there that I've had to get pretty forceful and demand that they leave or that they transform, but typically I'm able to get them through compassion and transition them over.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. And so you do a lot more than soul regression. What other things do you do as far as like your work and how you work with your clients, how you help your clients?
Well, I have a couple of other things. One of the things I do is I call it soul therapy, right? Because a lot of people freak out about hypnosis. So soul regression really works with regressing people back to past lives and different things, where soul therapy more the way that works is non-therapy, I mean hypnotic, you know what I mean? You do go into a relaxed state, but you typically just go into your memories. So let's say if you're having a pain in your stomach, then you feel into that pain in the stomach. And then when you do that, typically it will trigger memories from childhood in most cases. So then you go into that memory and then you look at that memory. And let me just tell you, recently I was doing the session on my sister who's very isolated and had a really rough, childhood. And we grew up in the same house, but we had different perceptions of the childhood, right? But then she met her boyfriend. He was very abusive. She had 3 kids and alcoholic. Anyway, she came in for a session when I went to Utah recently. And so I had her go into some of her memories. She went back to a memory of when she was a little girl and we were all sitting at the dining room table. And she had been laughing and my parents got mad at her and told her to stop laughing. And then she was like hurt, she's like, why are they singling me out? But from that one event, she shut down and she quit talking. She quit communicating. So she isolates herself from the family. And what we were able to do is go into that memory. And then when she pulled that memory up, she was able to see what choices she made when she was a little girl to not talk to the family about what's going on in her world because mom and dad reprimanded her at that young age. So we were able to go in and do a lot of repairing from that memory. We got her power back. She was able to stand up to my mom and dad and say what she needed to say, because when you're a young child, you can't do that. Now, the mind doesn't know if something is happening right now or if it happened 20 years ago. So she was able to stand up to my mom and dad in this memory and say, how come you're singling me out? This is the way I feel. And you shouldn't be doing that, and you have no right to single me out. All the other kids are laughing. And so then what I did is I had her demand her power back from my parents. But then I had her go around the table also because, okay, my parents got mad at her, but what about the rest of us? We're probably sitting there laughing at her, right? So we're all taking a little bit of her energy too. So I had her go around the table and demand her energy back from all of us that were sitting at the table. Wow. And she could feel the energy just coming back to her soul. And so we fraction off as we go through life, and we have all these experiences that are very traumatic for us when we're kids. Part of our soul fractions off so that we can survive. And so then what we need to do is we also need to grab our power back, but we also need to grab that little fraction piece of us that's still floating around out there. And this is what happens when you're an adult and all of a sudden you are angry about something and you fly off the handle and then you're like, I don't even know why I did that. Well, it's not you that did it. It's that little 5-year-old that was hurt when they were 5 years old that is acting out, right? So you go in, you heal the memory and you bring that fraction part of the soul back. So that's what I call soul therapy. I also have what we call timeline therapy.
So that's beautiful. Let me interject just on that because that is so beautiful. And I have studied and looked into, researched a lot about the different like shaman traditions. And that's very common among them. In fact, most of their healing is done through what they call soul retrieval. And it's exactly what you're talking about. It's exactly what you're talking about. They call it journeying, right? They travel, they journey to those times in the timeline where these things happen, and they do exactly what you're like yes, this is that's awesome. So that's beautiful that you do that. Continue.
Yeah, so I got certified in that one recently because this last year, because of all the people who are fearful of hypnosis, and I still wanted to help them. So that's why I did that one.
You completed your toolbox.
Yeah. Well, there's always more, you know what I mean? There's another one I do is timeline therapy, and that's a really short, you can do it in probably a half an hour. But you kind of have someone find their timeline. You have them float above their timeline, and they can look down and see all the different events in their life. And if there's one memory down there that they don't, see that's, not good, then they float above that timeline and they observe what's going on as the observer looking at the event. And then you have them go back before the event, then you have them go into the event, and then you have them pick up the learning. What did they learn from this event? Because when we're in the event, when we're young, it's like so traumatic. But now we're looking at as the observer from a different space, and we can see what we learned from that event. So, it's just a different way of looking at trauma in our life. And then we heal all of the events up through the timeline from this one event that caused this to happen. So, you heal all of them up from that timeline to now. And
wow.
So it helps.
And you can do this in half an hour?
Those are usually really quick healing sessions.
Wow.
Yeah. So having people look at those. Of course, I like to talk, so I can, it takes me longer because, but a typical timeline therapy session is probably about 20 minutes to half an hour.
Wow.
I would probably take an hour at least to do it because, I'd want to talk more and ask questions, what do you remember? What do you see? What do you feel? What do you sense? Because you're really tapping into all of your senses. So, but yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
And of course, I do Reiki, I do singing bowls, I do tuning forks, but those are something that I really promote a lot of because soul regression is what I love to do. That is my passion. And so that's the one that I probably promote more than anything.
Yes. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. And soul therapy is kind of becoming neck and neck with that, And even when I do soul regression, I end up using a lot of the same techniques from soul therapy in my soul regression sessions. So, but I like the soul regression because we can really get deeper, into the events in our life and the past life stuff. We carry so much trauma. I had a lady who came in that had, hurt her shoulder, and her shoulder was hurting. But when I went into her session, she had been stabbed in the back and speared and died in a previous lifetime. So she came in with that soul memory. And then she ended up having an attachment too, but the attachment was there to protect her from getting stabbed in the back again. So it was really a convoluted session to go in. But we carry a lot of trauma. A lot of people will have birthmarks in different places where they may have been stabbed before in a previous life, or, a lot of times, we don't understand why we have pain. And then we go in and find out it's from a past life incident of some kind.
Well, that's why I like the past life regression. What I really like about it, I mean, there's so much, right? But one of the things that I consider it be like kind of cornerstone is the fact that in that session, because it's under hypnosis and because there is no like set point where we're going, where you allow spirit or the higher self, right, to kind of guide the session to whatever healing needs is more important to be done at this time. Because I have done many like let's say techniques or retreats or therapy sessions where I have set where I want to go or what I want to heal or what I'm saying, like me as the human using what I consider be logic, think that I should heal this about myself. But that's very different than allowing our higher self, right, our higher wisdom, kind of like look at it like my soul self, allowing my soul to be the one to tell me, tell me
what you need
most at this time, because I don't know what I don't know, right? But I think that's a lot of times we think we need to heal something. And in our mind, this is the most, thing that's bugging me the most or whatever. But so many times it's something else. Like you said, it could be something even deeper, right? Something even further back that is even causing this particular situation.
Yeah, I want to share a really quick story because my instructor on the soul therapy did work on me while we were in class, right? And so he asked me, what do you want to work on? Well, since my husband passed away, you know, there's a lot of anger and resentment still there. And I thought, okay, I want to work on this anger and resentment that I'm holding on to from my husband passing. So that's what he took me in, thinking that's what my logical mind thought I needed to work on. But when I got in there in the session, now mind you, I've had leg pain in my legs since about 2012. And I went to doctors and they gave me all kinds of medicine. They finally said you got fibromyalgia or arthritis or whatever. But I had this horrific leg pain. And so when he took me in to work on this with my dad, and my dad listened to my husband, right? Come to find out, he had me go to the origination point of the first time I felt the anger or the resentment that I was feeling for my husband, right? Guess where I went? I went back to when I was 18 months old. I was a little baby.
What?
Yes. And I had those corrective shoes on with the still bar between your feet, and my legs were turning in. And my dad told the babysitter, do not let her take those off. And I am screaming and I'm so angry and I'm so mad that I was crying. I mean, but I had so much trauma from that. That is the trauma I was holding in my legs, because after I got out of that session, I have no more leg pain. It's gone. Wow. But I thought I was going in my logical mind, I thought I was going in to heal the anger and the frustration for my husband. But no, it went way further back than that. So it was really powerful.
Wow. Really powerful. That is amazing. Because I totally see how that would bring about trauma in the body and in the mind, you know, and in the soul, right? Because that's your sovereignty. Yeah. And yes, and you were so young.
Yeah, and he had me do role playing. So I yelled at my dad and my parents, you know, and I yelled at them. I was able to get that frustration out, tell them how much I hate them for doing this. And, you know, even though I know they were doing it for me out of love, and my dad tells me all the time, you know, it hurt me just as much as it hurt you, you know, to put you in those shoes. But when you're that young, you don't understand that. You just think that, you know, they're doing this horrible thing to you. Yeah. So, but I was able to express my anger and just yell and get it out of my body. Right. And it was so freeing, even though, because when you're 18 months old, you don't know, you know that you're holding on to it. So, I love it. Oh,
that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so if someone would like to do a session with you, how do they go about getting a hold of you?
Yeah, you can go to my website, to shaysisler.com. And in the services section there's several different options that you can pick for a soul regression session or a QHHT session, because I still do Dolores Cannon's QHHT sessions. However, I've kind of taken everything that I do and I've combined them into a soul regression session. So you get all the tools in my toolbox. So but there's other services that you can pick. So just go to my website at shaysisler.com and then you can schedule an appointment there.
Yay, that's awesome. And so for the community, do you have a website or a?
Yeah, they can go to onecommunityrising.com. And you can find different activities there. There's a page there for different practitioners. Right now, it's just their name and their phone number. It doesn't really have a whole lot of information on there right now about what they do, but you're on there, I'm on there. So if somebody wanted to reach out, and, you know, I'm sure you're probably going to be interviewing several of the people that are on there. And so maybe we can put the links on the community and then they can get to know them. That would be really helpful, you know, for others looking into different people through the community too.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. And definitely if they're called to be part of the activities, because like I said, I mean, I know the feeling when you're desiring to, step into a community where everybody's accepting and there's no judgment and everyone is truly trying to kind of help everyone else without, ulterior motives, and with truly allowing everyone to reach for the higher aspect of themselves without putting their 2 cents of what that higher aspect should be, right? I know that for me, that's a big one. It's like, I want the support without your without your stipulations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. So to look at the events with One Community Rising, then go to the website, and there should be a calendar there.
Yes,
Perfect.
yes. There's a calendar there. They can open that up. We're also on Meetup. If you go to Meetup, you can see the different events here in Las Vegas. So
yes, and growing. We're looking to grow to global.
Yes, yes. I know they've told me that we are going to, because I keep seeing the number 808, right? And 808 is the area code for Hawaii. So I asked them once if I was going to Hawaii, and they said One Community Rising is going to Hawaii. I thought, oh, okay, cool. I don't know when that will be, but that's where we're headed at some point. So
Yes.
I love it.
I support.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. This is what we need. This is what the world really needs right now, right? A platform where we can come heart-centered.
Yeah, and all of these all of the star seeds are being guided to create these communities, and as the communities come together and they grow, pretty soon we're all going to start blending into each other, and pretty soon we're going to be the ones that are ruling the world, right? Not ruling the world, that's kind of a very negative connotation, but we're going to be the ones that are living in our sovereignty and being able to, grow our gardens in peace and harmony, and not have to be controlled by our, governments that aren't really looking out for our best interest, So these communities are coming up all over. So yeah, you'll be able to find them more and more.
Yes, that's beautiful. I support.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Well, thank you for having me here today. So
thank you so much for being with me today and having this explaining to us a little bit more about what you do and the different adventures that you encounter, and sharing all that with us today. I appreciate it.
You bet.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.